Hello, this is the Timeless Tarot, and in today's reading we're looking at the sign of Capricorn and what you have in store for you in terms of career and finance. So I have put out a spread. Let's go straight to the bottom of the deck, and we have got the Fool. A phrase immediately sprang to mind, which is, a fool and his money are soon parted. I wonder if you feel like you've been foolish in some way regarding finances. I don't think I would normally say that, apart from this is to do with a financial reading. Otherwise, the Fool is talking about a leap of faith. I'm just going to do a quick shuffle and see if there's another card that wants to come out. Yeah. So this to me says that you're not happy with the situation you're currently in, and it's time to take a leap of faith into something else, perhaps. Four of Cups is feeling like you've lost all the joy. So maybe it's just that the work situation you're currently in is not fulfilling you anymore, or you're not happy to do it anymore, it feels like. And maybe that's requiring a leap of faith into something else, potentially. You could be looking for a new job. Maybe you feel like you should be. Maybe it's just dawning on you that perhaps the job that you're in is not going to be yours for the long term. And I think that is bringing up some sort of worries with you, because the Fool is a carefree or a careless energy. And I would say that is absolutely the opposite of a Capricorn's natural state. Your natural state is to be planning and thinking ahead. It is not to be careless and carefree. And I think trying to be careless and or carefree is not easy for you. Even though you are now recognising that the work situation you're in is not right for you, you're still not sure what you should be doing or how to get out of it or how to get into something else, potentially. That's what it feels like. At the centre of the reading, we have the Chariot. This is the card of, well, I was going to say this is the card of planning, but it's more than planning. The Chariot is guided movement forward. Now, although it's guided movement forward, it's not actually moving yet. So you're being guided to make a change. And that ties in very nicely with the Fool and with the Four of Cups. You're being guided to make a change because the situation you're in is not right for you anymore. It may well have been right for you at some point, but it's not right for you currently. The Chariot is always guided. So I think on some level, on either your intuition or maybe even other people are telling you it's time to leave or time to make a change. There's something about this picture here is making me feel like whatever you're currently doing is leaving a slightly hollow feeling. It feels hollow somehow. Like it's not just that it's not satisfying. It actually feels like it's not fulfilling you in either in a moral or a spiritual or an ethical way. It's no longer fulfilling you. How interesting. I don't think I've ever said the word ethical in a reading before, but there is something about your current position that is feeling a bit hollow. Yeah, I don't really know how else to say that. That's all I've got. Something about it is a bit unethical, or you don't like the value attached to it, or you don't like the moral stance it's coming from. Something like that. And so you're being guided into moving your work situation. Well, actually, I was going to say moving a work situation forward, but actually I think it's more likely moving away from the work situation you're in. I think the tricky thing is, here you have to cut yourself off from what you're already in and you don't want to. That feels like it might be tricky. Feels a little bit uncomfortable, like you might not want to do that. Maybe you've been in your job for a long time, or maybe you've been in it for a really short time, or maybe your employer took a chance on you, or maybe they've been really good to you, or something about it is feeling like it's going to be tricky to get out of, but not in terms of literally tricky to get out of. You don't want to cut yourself off and then that means that you've created a problem for your employer. But if you're going to move your work situation forward, you're going to have to do that. I think you can do it. You just don't want to do it. What is crossing the Chariot is the Page of Cups. So you could be moving forward. You're being guided to move away from the current work situation you're in. You're not doing that. And you're not doing that because you're not comfortable with that idea just yet. But also what is stopping movement is, now this is really interesting because the Page of Cups classically is a love letter or an apology. I think it's to do with what I was just saying. I think you feel bad about trying to leave this position, that you're letting somebody down if you go. But, you know, you have to view it the other way around. If you don't go, you're letting yourself down. And, you know, this is the energy we started with. You're not happy with the current situation. You need to take a leap of faith. It seems like you might be letting somebody down. Shall we take a clarifier? Why have we got... Oh, that was quick. Right, well, we've got two cards that came to clarify the Page of Cups crossing the Chariot. We've got the Seven of Swords, which is, in fact, we've got two sword cards, Seven of Swords and Knight of Swords. It's something here is like, either you got into this job a bit hastily, or there's something underhand going on that you don't like in your workplace. Yeah, that's what it feels like. This is what I was saying about morals and ethics before. There is something about it that you don't agree with. How fascinating. That's so interesting. And those cards literally leapt out. There's something underhand going on. It might not be that the company or the people you work for are being underhand at all, but it might feel to you that what you're doing is not ethical. Even if it is, to your personal values, it might feel unethical to you, or that it just doesn't sit nicely with you anymore. There is something here that is making me want to talk about gambling, and I'm not quite sure why. So if you're working in the gambling industry, it could be that is not sitting nicely with you anymore, or maybe you took a gamble on a certain type of job and it's not panned out the way you were hoping. It feels uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable with the work ethics. It's not the work environment. The environment you're working in is okay, but it isn't that. It's no longer matching your personal values and ethics. It feels to you that you're deceiving people, I think. And so actually your desire is to get out of there as soon as you can, but that is at odds with the Chariot, because you don't actually want to make a move out of there. You really, really do, and yet you really don't at the same time. You don't want to let somebody down is what it feels like to me. I don't think you've got an option though. If the work environment you're in is no longer suiting your personal values and ethics, you've got no option. You're going to have to come out of it, even if you like the people you work with, even if the job itself is nice. And you are feeling very uncomfortable, A, doing the work, and B, trying to get out of the job itself and into something else. The whole thing feels quite uncomfortable. It's not that you're working in an awful environment. It's nothing like that at all. It's just that the longer you stay at the job that you're in, the more and more uncomfortable you're feeling with at least one aspect of the job that you have to do. It could just be a small aspect of what you're doing. You might like the majority of the job, but there is some element that is making you feel increasingly uncomfortable. And you know that you need to move yourself out of this job situation, but you feel like you might be letting somebody down if you do. That's what it feels like. So a real interesting one. I'm just going back to these first two cards we took. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that you are going to leave this job. It's just that you have not quite convinced yourself to take that leap yet. You will. You just haven't done it yet. On the face of things, we have the Ten of Rods. Yeah, you've had enough. I think, and actually on the face of it, this is what's obvious to everybody. So this even might be obvious to your employer, that you've had enough and that you're about to throw the towel in and you're not enjoying at least one aspect of the work that you do. You're ready to actually hand in your notice is what it feels like. This is that you've come to the end with this particular job. I don't even feel like I need a clarifier. You don't want to do it anymore. Yeah, it doesn't even feel to me like you've got a different job in mind particularly. It's just that you don't want to do this one anymore. What's underneath? We have the Eight of Rods. So this is something about communication. Maybe you're in contact with lots of people to do with your job. Maybe that is an element that you're not comfortable with anymore, is the constant communications. Perhaps you're doing telesales or something like that, where you're having to sell things to people down the phone and it just isn't sitting right with you. It could be something like that. It's some sort of selling, I think, and communication that is just not comfortable anymore for you. Now, what's coming with that Eight of Rods? Quite interesting. We've got the High Priestess and the Hermit. The High Priestess is a card of intuition. The Hermit is a card of gaining wisdom through isolation. So, if we read these three cards together, on one level, your gut has been telling you for quite some time that this is not the job for you long term. On another level, you have taken some time out to consider things carefully. And the longer you have tried to think about the situation, the more convinced you are that this is not the job for you. You have been gaining some sort of insight. So whereas the High Priestess was just a gut instinct that led you to think, maybe when you took the job, you thought, I won't be here for long. And that was just a gut instinct. But now you've worked out that you can't be here for long. You've gained some wisdom, inner wisdom on this. So everything is telling you it's time for a change. And communication is key here. So it could be as well, actually, if we just look at these communication cards. And we've got the Eight of Wands and we've also got the Page of Cups. Pages are always communication. So it could be that actually you feel like you need to apologise to somebody and say, actually, I can't do this job anymore. It feels very apologetic. There's something about the communication you don't like. It's not comfortable. You're not sorry that you can't keep doing the job, but you are sorry to tell the person that you can't keep doing the job, the person who employed you. You're just not comfortable doing it anymore. And I can't really say any more than that because I can't get into the specifics of what every type of job you will do is. There's something to do with the communication within the job that you don't like doing. And although originally you knew the job might not be for you long term, you have now worked out that it's time to leave. You just don't know how to deliver the news. In the past, we have the Ten of Swords. Well, we've got two tens here, and all tens are always endings. I wonder if this is not the past, this is now. Maybe you've already left. I don't think you have already left. Let me just get a clarifier for that. So why have we got the Ten of Swords in the past? Why do we have the Ten of Swords in the past position? Maybe you were talked into it. Perhaps it was some sort of love connection. Perhaps it felt like a really good fit. It's interesting, isn't it? Perhaps you've come out of a love situation in the past, and that, well, it's just interesting because this is a career and finance reading. This says in the past you've come out of a relationship. So I'm wondering if maybe, how has that got a bearing on the career and finance? Well, maybe in the past you had no option but to take this job because you just needed to get something quickly, because you'd come out of a relationship and you needed to be earning a certain amount of money. It could be that. Or maybe the reason why you're feeling like you don't know how to deliver the news is because you're working for or with somebody you're in a relationship with or were in a relationship with. Maybe you're fearing that if you're in a relationship with somebody you work with, maybe you're fearing that the relationship will end if you come out of the job. It's a little bit strange. Is there any more for the Ten of Swords? Some sort of period of recovery. So these three cards, we've got the Four of Swords, Ten of Swords, Two of Cups. Well, this is the card of recovering. It could be from illness or injury or heartbreak. This is the card of true connection, true love connection. This is the card of feeling defeated, ground down, worn out, at the end. Reached the end with something. So actually, do you know what it really almost feels like? It almost feels like you've fallen out of love with this job. That's what it feels like. It could be one of the other things I said before. But you could have just fallen out of love with this job, potentially. I don't think I'm going to get that any clearer, to be honest. That's all I can get. In the future, we've got the Four of Pentacles. This is the card of clinging on fairly tightly to what you've got. It's a slightly resistant card. It can be, it's the minor arcana of pride, really. This is in the future. So if you were feeling defeated in the past, in the future you're feeling a little bit like you don't. I think this is to do with money. I think this job pays you well. And I think perhaps you're concerned about how you'll manage financially if you don't stay with this job. Well, I mean, it's entirely up to you, isn't it? I can only give you the advice from the cards. But, you know, don't put yourself into financial jeopardy unless you know for a fact it's going to be better for you in the long run. Why do we have the Four of Pentacles in the future? Strength. Yeah, I think you're struggling with the idea of giving up the money, is what it feels like. Or the position. It could be that you will struggle with demoting yourself from the position you're in. It's one or the other. It's something to do with position, power, or money. And that is why you're partly in a dilemma of what to do. Right, in the personal position, Five of Cups. Yeah, you are... Well, I mean, it's progress. Progression through the numbers is always good in a reading. And we had the Four of Cups to start with, not liking what you've got. Five of Cups, feeling like you have to, all the joy is gone and you need to leave the situation. And then in the home position, we have the Six of Cups. So you are working through this feeling of unease, is the best way of putting it. You're uneasy about the job you're doing and you need to make a change, but you're uneasy about making the change as well, for all the reasons I've outlined. But you know, it's interesting because in the background of the Five of Cups, we have the Two Cups still standing. And over here, we had the Two Cups. So there's something here is to do with some sort of love connection. There's love interconnected somewhere or other within your work environment, I think. Some sort of love connection, because in the home position, we've got the Six of Cups. This is a link to your past. It can feel quite nostalgic. It can link to childhood friends, in fact, or relationships from a long time ago. Why do we have the Six of Cups in the home position? Maybe you've been in this job for a long time. What's the Six of Cups in the home position for? Oops, three shot out there. Okay, we've got the Hierophant, that's tradition. We've got the Knight of Rods, that's a determined energy to make change. And the Knight of Pentacles, that's a slow and steady energy. This would be your energy, planning to make a move, but doing it slowly. The Knight of Rods would be, I know what I need to do and I'm going to do it right now without making a plan. The Knight of Pentacles is definitely having made a plan, and you might have been planning for quite some time and still not have got into the time to do something about it energy. The Hierophant is tradition. I'm just going to put those knights down for a minute. So if I read the Hierophant with the Six of Cups, something about this job is traditional. Some of you have been doing it for a very long time, and thought of leaving a job that you've been in for a long time is uncomfortable as well. Yeah, maybe you are worried that if you don't stay with this job, you're not going to be able to keep your home. You may think that, but I don't believe that's true. I think if the environment you're working in doesn't suit you, I think it's time to change it. And that's why we have already got three knights. Now, the knights are all of action, okay? And we now have three of them. Actually, no, we've got all four, because up here, clarifying the outcome, we've got the Knight of Cups. So you've got a lot of action here that you should be... Yeah, well, it goes back to the very first card we looked at, which was the Chariot. You know you need to make a change. You just currently aren't doing it. The hopes and fears position, we have Death. You're fearing the change. This is the problem. You're really, really fearful of the change. The change is inevitable. Well, as soon as you decide you're not staying, you need to you make the change is coming. If you stay in a job where you're not comfortable, eventually you will be made to leave the job. Life has got a way of making you do things. If you've got the idea you need to do it now, I would get on and do it, because what will happen is that life will make the choice for you, and it won't be in such a nice way. You know, it'll be in the way of starting to make you feel ill or something until you can't stay. So actually, the change is coming regardless. You may as well be brave and make that change. Let's get a clarifier for Death. King of Cups, Eight of Swords. Yeah, you're feeling that actually you're not just worried about making the change. You're worried about how the change is going to impact the rest of your life. And that is why you have not made the change, because you are feeling stuck. Yeah, that's true. The King of Cups is the king who, well, he generally doesn't know how he feels, but I think you do know how you feel, because we had the High Priestess and the Hermit. You do know how you feel, and so actually you're not really stuck. If you look at this card here, she isn't really stuck. She just can't see the way out. There's a gap there. She can get out of this situation. Eight of Swords is feeling stuck, but not actually being stuck, not literally stuck. Made this sort of mental prison for yourself, I think. You feel like you can't change it, but actually you can, because right at the start we had the Fool, and that is the card of change. Making a change yourself. Death is here to say that if you don't make the leap of faith and make the change yourself, something else is going to come in and do it for you. The change is coming, regardless. It absolutely is. So you may as well brace yourself and deal with it. The outcome, well, you haven't got anything to worry about. We've got the Six of Rods. So we've got 4 knights and the Six of Rods. This is a person on a horse who is victorious. And clarifying that, we've got the Knight of Cups. In your heart of hearts, you know what you have to do. And I can tell you that the outcome will be good for you. That is victory. Yeah, the Knight of Cups knows how he feels. He is the one who's worked out how he feels. You know, you've known this for a while. You knew from the start you wouldn't be here long term. You've worked out that you can't be here for much longer. And you are, well, you're being guided to move away from this situation. You're not doing it yet, but you know you need to. Yeah, but it's pretty clear to me. You know you need to move. And great news, you're going to be victorious. So you're going to get what you want as an outcome. You'll be able, and I think probably what you want is to be able to leave this work environment with no hard feelings. And I think you will be able to. I can't see anything negative here. There's just this thing is niggling me about the Two of Cups. What is it referring to? I'm going to have to get a clarifier for that, because just to recap, you're working in a job that you're no longer comfortable. Something to do with your personal morals or ethics are not aligning with the job that you're in. There's nothing wrong with the environment you're in. You like the people you work with, etc., etc. You don't want to let anybody down, but you have worked out what you need to do, and the change is coming, whether you deal with it or whether somebody else deals with it for you. The change is coming, and so you should take the bull by the horns and deal with it yourself. Now that's all fine. Why, oh why, do we have the Two of Cups? It's either that, I was just going to say, it's either that there's somebody you work with, you're in love with, or you fell out of love with the job, one or the other. It's more likely that, because to clarify that, we've got the Queen of Pentacles, and this is the Queen of knowing your own worth. It's actually also your card. So she is the Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo Queen. Doesn't matter if you're a masculine watching this. This is about knowing your own worth. It's about, and actually I'm going to put something else in here. It's about boundaries. And this is sitting with this Four of Pentacles, really. It's about knowing what you will and won't put up with, what is and isn't right for you, what resonates with your soul, if you like, your soul purpose, and what doesn't. And I think this job just isn't resonating with your soul purpose anymore. I'm sorry to be using such a strong phrase there. That's not something I've ever said before in a reading, I'm sure. But there is something here that is not aligning with your soul purpose. And you've fallen out of love with the job. I mean, feel free to tell me in the comments if it's actually to do with another love situation. But the only way I can read it is that you've fallen out of love with the job, I think. Well, we're ending here with the Queen of Pentacles, which is knowing your own worth. And I think that's a perfect place to end. So knowing your own worth, we'll go back to the first two cards we had, which was the Fool and the Four of Cups. You know your own worth, and you know that what you're doing currently is not suiting you. It does not align with your soul purpose, and it is not doing you any favours, because you've worked out that it's not for you. And so now, because you know what you're worth, because you know that you cannot stay in this working environment any longer, much as you like the place and the people and all of that. There is some element here that does not fit with you anymore. And so it is time to take a leap of faith. Put your faith in the Almighty, I want to say. Put your faith in the Almighty. You know what you're worth. You know what you want. You know what makes you feel good and what doesn't. And it's time to take all those thoughts and put a new plan into action. Take a chance on something else. Wow, what an interesting reading, Capricorn. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe so that I can read your energy more easily, which will help me to do more accurate readings for you and your situation in the future. If you would like a personal reading, my information is in the description box below. But until next time, this has been the Timeless Tarot. Goodbye.